Greetings fellow Decepticons, SoundBlaster1987 here with my monthly vlog for July of 2025. Today I'll be briefly going over the history of one of my favourite Decepticon combiner teams and the first combiner team in the entire franchise, the Constructicons. Now the Constructicons roster has risen and fallen over the decades, but for the most part I'll be focusing on the core 6 members of the team: Scrapper, Hook, Longhaul, Bone Crusher, Scavenger, and Mixmaster. So, in the original 1980s Transformers cartoon, they were seen around late season 1, around the same time the Dinobots turned up, having recently been created on Earth by Megatron. Except this was later retconned in the later episodes of the cartoon, whereby they had been present on Cybertron as well, and friends of Omega Supreme prior to their corruption by Megatron. As according to the Secret of Omega Supreme episode, the Constructicons had previously been neutral Transformers on Cybertron, but worked with Omega Supreme to build some of the most fragile cities on Cybertron during their golden age before the war. And then Megatron's Robo Smasher programmed their combining ability and allowed them to form Devastator, the most dangerous of all Decepticons. So, yes, the traditional Devastator configuration is for Scrapper, the front-end loader, to become the right leg, Mixmaster, the cement mixer, to become the left leg, Longhaul, the dump truck, to become basically the midriff and thighs, Hook, the mobile train truck, to become the head, shoulders and upper torso, Bone Crusher, the bulldozer, to become the left arm, and Scavenger, the steam shovel excavator, to become the right arm. However, this has changed a few times over the years. For example, in the IDW comic books, when they enslaved the Autobot Prowl to become the new head of Devastator, after the death of Scrapper in the IDW comics had them reconfigure the way things went with Devastator so that Prowl ended up becoming the new head of the combined form. And then of course there were other instances, such as 2004's Transformers Energon, where the Constructicons were a 5-bot team that I believe consisted of Steam Hammer, Dust Storm, Wide Load, Scavenger, and Bone Crusher. If I remember correctly, feel free to correct me in the comments. But yes, they were called Constructicon Maximus in the American version of Energon, and in the, Japanese version, Super League, they were called Buildron, because Buildron was the Japanese name of the Constructicons Combiner Team subgroup in Generation 1. The original G1 versions of the Constructicons were originally Diaclone toys that were released in a mix of yellow and orange with purple and such like in the original Diaclone version, and then they became green and purple for the Transformers release. Then they ended up returning to their Diaclone colours for Generation 2. And some of them were re-released without the combiner parts as well as part of the Gold Box Classics and other such reissues that came out around the G1, G2 time gap at the end of the 80s and early 90s. Devastator himself as a combined form would also receive an Action Master toy in 1990 with a little Scorpion drone weapon part they called Scorpulator. And then, of course, was the 2009 Revenge of the Fallen Devastator, which consisted of a record 8, possibly 9 components, those being Scavenger the steam shovel, Scrapper the front-end loader, Rampage the bulldozer, because Bone Crusher was the desert mine-clearing vehicle from the first movie, then Longhaul the dump truck ended up becoming a right foot instead of a torso. Then there was another long trailer vehicle called Overload, who became part of the main torso. Then there was also Hightower, the replacement for Hook as the crane component. And there was also another digger called Scrap Metal. They all combined together into the giant four-legged sort of quadrupedal monstrosity of Devastator with dozens of eyes and a gigantic sort of black hole suction mouth called a vortex grinder. Ugh, terrifying stuff. Mixmaster became the head of that design. So, there were plans for Devastator to be involved in Transformers Animated, but sadly Season 4 got cancelled. We did get Constructicon characters, but only 3 of them. Scavenger's old mode was later reassigned to Scrapper, then we got Mixmaster as well, and then we got a forklift called Dirt Boss, who basically filled in the role of the Insecticon Bombshell with his little Cerebro shell, little projectiles that can mind control other Transformers. So, yeah, the Autobot Bulkhead was originally supposed to be the core torso of Devastator in the Season 4 plans for Animator, which sadly never came to pass. The recent resurgence of Transformers Animated, What Ifs and such like, orchestrated by Kean Carlisle on Instagram, have finally given us official artwork of what the Constructicons would have looked like in Season 4, and the completed Devastator design, so feel free to check that out when you get a chance. Moving on, the Constructicons did appear in the Align continuity, but not to the same extent as the other combiner teams. There was more focus on Bruticus and such like in the Align continuity, and later on Menasor as well in the Robots in Disguise 2015 cartoon. Then of course the Prime Wars trilogy brought back the G1 Constructicons, with Devastator getting his Titan class toy in the Combiner Wars line. And then obviously there's the new Studio Series 86 figure coming out as well, which is far more G1 accurate and better scale to other generations toys type version of the Devastator set coming out in 2025. I honestly think it's a bit of a missed opportunity that we didn't get a Scrapper retool out of the Frenny 30 Scoop mold, the Autobots double Target Master, that has a very similar transformation scheme, complete with this of Excavator Scoop being behind his head in robot mode, that kind of thing. All he needed was a new head and a green and purple paint job, and he would have been pretty much perfect. But with that said, the Constructicons have made minor appearances in other comics like the Skybound and Dreamwave comics and such. I haven't read enough of those comics to be able to know exactly what happens with the Constructicons and what their membership is like and such like, but there was also the Power Core Combiners Constructicon team as well, who were led by a group called Gravedigger, who was supposed to be almost like a forgotten member of the Constructicons. And in the United EX, the Japanese release of the Constructicons team from the Power Core Combiners line, they ended up with a far more G1 accurate Constructicon color scheme, and they ended up being renamed Buildmaster in their combined form as a result of the Japanese naming convention and such. There was also a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover toy in which one of the Battle Android Troopers, the Cobra Battle Droid type robots, were recolored in Constructicon colors, mostly with like a green torso and arms, silver chest and purple legs in reference to Scavenger. I recommend you hunt down that figure when you get a chance, it does look interesting. So, with that being said, I have been SoundBlaster1987, and that more or less concludes my look back at the history of the Constructicons. There was also a bit of a continuity error type of thing with Season 3 of the 80s cartoon, in which it was revealed in 5 Faces of Darkness that the Constructicons themselves were the ones that made Megatron, not the other way around. I still don't know the full details of that debate either, so feel free to start your own discussions in the comments below. So, with that said, I've been SoundBlaster1987, thanks again for watching. My next vlog in August will be about the history of the Seekers, Starscream's group of Decepticon jets. Till then, my next toy review will be Transformers Prime, Power Riser, Optimus Prime. Till then, till all are one.